Hi, I'm Rob Sabal, Dean of the School of the Arts at Emerson College.
And I'm Marty Cook, founding director of Emerson's Center for Comedic Arts. Welcome to the first annual Ready Wit Awards ceremony.
Emersonians have long understood the power of comedy to affect social change.
Look no further than our own Norman Lear.
And the tradition continues.
The Ready Wit Prize was inspired by our comedic arts students who regularly use humor to challenge the status quo, break down barriers, and remind us of our commonalities.
And we couldn't be more proud of it.
Each year, the Ready Wit Prize will be awarded to a person or persons whose significant, innovative contributions to the comedic arts advances social change.
These artists are risk takers. They are truth speakers. They undermine myths. They expose falsities. And they call out prejudice and false narratives whenever they see them. Today, we honor our inaugural Ready Wit recipient, Raphael Bob-Waksberg, and his trailblazing work on the celebrated animated comedy series, BoJack Horseman.
For a few more words on this, let's hear from President Lee Pelton.
At Emerson, we are serious about comedy. In our Comedic Arts BFA program, which is the first of its kind in the country, students learn to use humor as a way to challenge the status quo. They learn not only to make people laugh, but to do so in a way that opens a dialogue for social change. Emerson College and the Ready Wit Award in Comedy recognize the importance of using comedy to advance social justice and address the most pressing issues of our day. We honor the courage it takes to bring voice and agency to these issues, and we celebrate those who, through laughter, strive to create a more just world. Raphael Bob-Waksberg is the embodiment of the Ready Wit Award in Comedy. In creating BoJack Horseman, Raphael used humor to confront issues such as depression, addiction, grief, trauma, and racism. Congratulations, Raphael, on receiving the Ready Wit Award in Comedy. We commend you for all that you have achieved, and we look forward to seeing what's next. You are a powerful role model to up-and-coming comedians, and of course, to all of us.
Hi, I'm Raven Goldston, a comedic arts major, and we are live at Emerson College to present the first Ready Wit Award in Comedy to the creator and executive producer of BoJack Horseman, Raphael Bob-Waksberg. The series has been lauded by critics and ranked as one of the top 10 shows of the decade by the likes of Variety, Rolling Stone, Vulture, and Time, just to name a few. But personally, I just find it amazing how a show about an anthropomorphic horse can be so human. Look, BoJack Horseman is no hero. He's mean, he's selfish, and frankly, he's an ass. But the show and his horse still teach us how to be better people. In adult animation, we often see the romanticization of brash and alcoholic characters. Not only are these characters often unlikable, they can be one-dimensional. Whereas in BoJack, the characters are complex. Sure, they have flaws, but they grow and change. The show also doesn't let characters skirt the consequences of their actions. BoJack learns time and again that his hijinks, his drunken delirium, and his egomania hurt others. Additionally, people who suffer with depression, addiction, anxiety, and grief can see themselves in this cartoon. Take, for example, BoJack's loyal companion, Diane Wynn, whose experiences with depression are crafted in such a raw, honest, and relatable way. But let's not forget, this is a comedy award. Amidst all the adversities the characters face, in this delightful and bizarre world of Hollywood, these characters poke fun at celebrity culture, roast each other, and do weird animal things like fly, slink away, and even milk themselves. For all these reasons, we, the Emerson student body, feel that Mr. Bob-Waksberg and his series BoJack Horseman best represent the Ready Wit Award in Comedy. It's courageous, thought-provoking, and encourages us to care about one another. But don't just take it from me. Let's hear from the Emerson community.
I love BoJack Horseman because it's showed me that you can write weird, crazy, quirky, witty comedy and infuse it with real life stories and real problems.
It takes very serious topics about mental health and mental illness, stuff that's usually taboo, and brings it into the mainstream by making it comedic.
Straight up entertainment. It's like entertaining continuously throughout the series, as well as being really up to date on its social commentary.
And it is so deserving of this award because it's hilarious, but it also really makes you think.
The puns and the wordplay are really unparalleled.
Being able to see a deeper version, I guess, of yourself in life through the characters.
All the characters are human. They may be other animals, but you see yourself in each one of them, and you see their struggle, you see their fight.
Taught me that you could push the boundaries on comedy and drama.
Amidst the animal jokes and the silly celebrity gags, the show also goes there. It gets raw, it gets dark, but it also refuses to give in to sentimentality. Even when it's dealing with something like death or depression, there's always something silly or absurd juxtaposed right next to the serious.
The social commentary, especially on the Me Too movement, I think was very prescient while still being enjoyable and funny.
Whenever I ask my students to give me examples of original, funny comedy shows that really speak to them, BoJack is always at the top of that list.
It also just has this amazing ability to make you feel less alone while you're watching it.
It taught me that it's always possible for someone to get better. It's like, despite what or how many demons you inherit or you bring upon yourself, that you can always get better.
I've had students who share with me that, and share with the class, that they're going through things that are being depicted on the show, subjects like depression and anxiety and grief and sadness. And I think for a lot of them, it ends up being this powerful revelation that they can bring these elements into their work, into their creative work. And it's a way to channel what they're going through and even help them deal with some of those things.
And in addition to that, it's so relatable. I mean, I never expected to relate to an alcoholic horse person, but I really do. And that's what makes the show so amazing.
Thanks for creating a show that is honest and sincere and also really, really funny.
And thank you for being our first Ready Wit Award recipient, and thank you for all the great seasons of BoJack.
And now it is with great pride that we present our first Ready Wit Award to Raphael Bob-Waksberg. Raphael, would you mind opening the award and showing it off to the camera?
Okay. Oh boy. All right. I got, oh my goodness. Wow, look at that.
So this stunning award was designed by Russian artist Evgeny Grobov, and it combines two things that are integral to the Comedic Arts program: Emerson's mascot, the lion, who is bold, brave, and strong, and the jester hat, which ties the award to the roots of comedy and the jester's historical role of speaking truth to power. Congratulations again. Would you mind sharing a few words about what this award means to you?
I would be happy to. Wow. All right. Hello, everybody. When I first found out I was receiving this award, I thought, wow, what an honor. Ready Whip is one of my favorite brands of nitrous oxide propelled sweetened whipped cream topping, but I didn't even know they gave out awards. It was then clarified for me that I was not receiving the Ready Whip award, but another equally notable award called the Ready Wit Award, which was established to celebrate comedy that, quote, addresses the most pressing issues of the day. Then I got nervous. Does my comedy address the most pressing issues of the day? And should comedy address the most pressing issues of the day? That's a lot of responsibility to hang on comedy, a genre that frankly can't even manage to effectively communicate who is on first. And by the way, the most pressing issues of the day right now are kind of a bummer. Like, I don't know if you've noticed, but a lot of it is bad news. And to be honest, there's been no shortage of comedy about it, and I'm not sure it's helping. So I started wondering, what is the benefit of addressing, even comedically, the rottenness around us when no amount of addressing it seems to make the rottenness subside? Yes, comedy can function as a release, but what if that release actually distracts us from the grave seriousness of our current circumstance? Are we doing the work when we craft a witty observation that gets a reaction? Or are we hitting a little button in our brain that makes us feel like we've done something, thereby illegitimately satisfying our internal motivation to actually, do something? So then I started asking myself questions like, is comedy good? And have I wasted my life on a pursuit that is at best frivolous and at worst actively harmful? And now I'm getting an award for this? A tribute to my own complicity? And then I thought, okay, guy from network, calm down. Why don't you have a glass of water and take a nap? So then I had a glass of water and I took a nap and I felt much better. And then I looked back at the speech that I had started writing and I thought, okay, I've got some questions I need to answer. So here are my attempts at answering those questions. But before I do, I don't know any more about this than you do. There are no rules. There are no absolutes in comedy or in life. We're all just figuring this out. And there's no guarantee tomorrow that I won't feel 100% the opposite of what I feel right now about all this stuff. But you're getting me today, so you're going to get what I feel right now. If I'd written this speech ahead of time, I could have told you what I felt a month ago, but I procrastinated. So you're getting what I'm feeling right now. So first question, can comedy make a difference? When I think about the power of comedy, I picture great satirists, usually sitting behind a desk and talking straight to camera, toppling the pretensions of our oppressors, shining a bright light on their abuses and shaming them. But how does that work when the oppressors have no shame? When I was in college, I was certain that every member of the Bush administration would one day face some sort of retribution for their crimes against humanity. If not in the International Court of Justice, then at least in the court of public opinion. I mean, how could they not, after what was said about them on The Daily Show and in The Onion? But guess what? Comedy did not destroy them. Nor will the dragons society faces today be bested by a well-deployed zinger. We've tested the hypothesis and seen the results. The dragons are zinger-proof. I do think comedy can make a difference. I think comedy's quieter but more successful path towards social change has been not in the ways it's taken down the powerful, but in the gradual ways it's lifted up and legitimized the disenfranchised. Comedy normalizes. It makes the strange less strange, and it allows us to discover things about people we'd otherwise never interact with, and discover things about ourselves. I've seen the difference that comedy can make in my own work. Now, I didn't set out to make a difference. I just wanted somebody to pay me to write jokes so I wouldn't have to get a real job. But I meet people all the time who tell me that my writing has made a difference in their lives, that it's given them the language to articulate feelings they always felt but never understood, the tools to communicate who they are to their friends and family, the strength to get through another day, or the courage to ask for help. It doesn't fix everything, but it has, in ways small and significant, helped individual people. And I do think that's worth something. Okay, so next question. Should comedy make a difference? Is that really our job? Sure, you might be saying, that's fine for you, Raphael Bob-Waksberg, but I don't do that kind of comedy. My comedy is just for fun. It's comedy. Can I opt out of the social responsibility part? And my answer to that is maybe, but it's tricky. I want to tell you a story about Elia Kazan, the director of On the Waterfront and A Streetcar Named Desire. But it's actually not really about Kazan. Like most stories I tell people, it's really mostly about me. So when I was 14, Elia Kazan won the Lifetime Achievement Award at the Oscars. And this was very controversial. In fact, he'd already been denied a Lifetime Achievement Award by the American Film Institute and many film festivals and critics associations because of his testimony before the House Committee on Un-American Activities in 1952, in which he named former associates that he knew to be communists, resulting in them being blacklisted from the industry. So go figure, a lot of people were still upset about that when it was announced that Elia Kazan was now receiving a Lifetime Achievement Oscar. Traditionally, when one receives this award, they are given a standing ovation at the ceremony. So this year, a number of people decided to make a political statement. They would not stand for Elia Kazan. Now, if you go to YouTube, you can actually watch this moment. They announce his name, and several audience members clap politely, but do not stand. Others refuse to even applaud. On the other hand, many Academy members did stand defiantly, making a point of their own on the line they saw between artistic achievement and one's personal or political actions. So if you were in the Los Angeles County Music Center on the night of March 21st, 1999, when Elia Kazan received his honorary Oscar, you could either stand up and make a point, or you could stay seated and make a point. Those were your options. There was no way to not make a point. There was no way to stay neutral on the subject of Elia Kazan. And as a 14-year-old who at the time barely had a take on any of this stuff, I was fascinated by this observation. You can't recuse yourself from discourse. Silence is a statement. Abstention from voting is itself a vote for something. The food you eat, the products you purchase, the words you use, the ways in which you're funny, all of these decisions have weight, both subtle and profound. You can't claim neutrality or plead ignorance. What you're doing matters in life and in comedy. So, what does this mean? That every joke you make needs to be actively advocating for a progressive cause? It needs to be a correct and unequivocal point for the good guys? No. The world needs silliness. It needs goofy song parodies and pointless wordplay and fart jokes and sex jokes and interrupting cow jokes. There's no shame in being funny for the sake of funny, especially if you're really funny. But I would urge you to remember that you have power. As comedians, we like to think of ourselves as not having power. We're not the kings, we're the jesters. We speak truth to power. But the ability to speak truth is itself power. We have power. And when we use that power, we are communicating a philosophy, whether we mean to or not. So I think it is worthwhile to occasionally double check our philosophy. Because as we've seen in recent years, there is nothing more dangerous than a charismatic entertainer with a toxic philosophy. So, final question, how? How do we make a difference in our comedy? I think we do it in the same way we make a difference in life, by being thoughtful and open, by inviting criticism and listening to it, by being empathetic and curious about other people. At our best, we can make comedy that seeks to understand and reveal, rather than comedy that seeks to show off how clever we are. We can aim for laughs of recognition, not laughs of superiority. Comedy is a normalizing machine. It makes the outrageous normal. And it normalizes for good, like when you hear a joke that describes a feeling you thought only you had, an observation that recontextualizes how you see things, or an insight into a perspective you've never considered. But it also normalizes for bad. Comedy can normalize cruelty under an umbrella of wit. Sometimes we tell ourselves, if what I say is funny enough, then it doesn't matter who it might hurt. If what I say is funny enough, then I am not responsible for whatever collateral damage it may cause. But that's only true if the only thing you care about is being funny. And if the only thing you care about is being funny, then I'm sorry, but you are a boring person. Remember, you have power. Use it. Thank you to the students and faculty of the Center for Comedic Arts at Emerson College for inviting me here today. Thank you for this award that I can keep in my home as a reminder of my responsibility. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to lecture all of you. I'm sure you thought my speech would be funnier, but I already have your award and I'm not giving it back. I said some things today that I hope resonated, and I hope I said some things that you violently disagree with. I hope you disagree with me. Go be funny. And if you're funny enough, eventually someone will make up an award to give you. So you'll visit their college, and then you can make your own speech. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Raphael, for those truly inspiring and empowering words. And I'm glad you are not disappointed by the lack of whipped cream that there was with this award. All right, so now several members of our community have submitted questions that we'd love for you to answer.
Okay, I'll do my best.
So the first question, BoJack is such a unique show with such a unique take. What was the hardest aspect about trying to pitch a show about an anthropomorphic alcoholic horse who was famous in the 90s?
What was the hardest aspect? I don't know. It never felt hard to me because it always made sense to me. And it's only like looking back at it that I realized like what a weird show it is. But at the time, it always felt logical. And I think that confidence and that clarity of vision for myself is what helped me sell the show. It made sense to me. I didn't feel like it was a tough sell. I felt like it was the most natural thing in the world. And it felt natural for me to be making it. And I think that's what ultimately convinced other people too, even if they're like, this show's weird. Okay, but that guy seems to know what he's doing, so let's give him a shot.
And with that, knowing what you're doing and working with such an amazing team of writers, was there an episode or a joke that you wanted to write or thought would have been significant for the storytelling, but was turned down early on for another reason?
Oh, that's a good question too. I'm trying to remember. I feel like we got to do all the things we wanted to do. We were very lucky that we were at a home that allowed us to tell the stories we wanted to tell and kind of follow the weird muses we wanted to follow. And normally, sometimes there was pushback. There were conversations like, we're nervous about this kind of story. But I always felt like it was a conversation. And I always felt like we were partnered with people who wanted us to make the best version of our show. You know, sometimes you pitch a show and a platform buys it, and you're pitching this, but what they really want is this. And every note they give you is just gradually trying to drag it over here. And for us, it really felt like we want to make this show. And everyone who was working on it was like, yeah, that's the show we're making. Let's do it. So I'm very lucky in that respect.
Very cool. And speaking of everyone who's working on that show, you worked with such an amazing cast: Paul F. Tompkins, Will Arnett, Amy Sedaris, just to name a few. What was one
just
thing
to
an
name
actor
3
brought?
of the 5? We don't need to name the other 2.
What was one thing an actor brought to the table that would have drastically changed the show if used or if not used?
I think they're acting. And I don't mean like they're comedy. I mean they're acting. Like, you know, one thing we realized very early on with this cast is that they could do emotional storytelling. They were mostly hired because of their comedic ability. But then we started gradually giving them more and more emotional stuff to play. And every one of them, to a one, just could nail these more introspective emotional moments. And that just encouraged us to go farther with it. I think if we'd had actors who were not capable of going to those deep places, we probably would have shied away from that a little more. But we were continually encouraged by their acting to go, okay, no, let's push this farther. Let's see what else they can do.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that the Emerson community loved about the show, is how in-depth even the secondary characters were, which leads me to my next question. The show Better Call Saul was based on a secondary character in Breaking Bad and has since become a hit show in its own right. What's one secondary character that you'd like to feature in a spinoff?
Well, I should be clear. I don't actually want to make a spinoff. I feel like I told the story. I feel like one idea for a spinoff I had is we had a secondary character named Herb Kazaz who was this producer, this comedy writer and producer, and at his funeral, the actor Henry Winkler shows up, and he reveals that after Herb's career, the two of them did a lot of charitable work together. And I always thought the Menchie Adventures of Henry and Herb would make for a fun spinoff. This is just the two of them doing good deeds for people and doing shtick would be fun. Although I don't know if that would be an actual good spinoff or just a fun idea for a spinoff.
To me, that sounds hilarious. If you're watching Netflix, we got an idea for a spinoff show.
Make it happen.
Make it happen. All right. Another question we have from the students was, do you have a favorite tongue twister or pun from the show that you can say 10 times fast like Princess Caroline could?
No, I don't. I couldn't say any of them. And part of the joy was making Amy Sedaris say them. And I don't think she liked it very much, but she was so fun about it. And so we kept giving her more and more complex things to say. And she would get so mad at me. She's like, why do you keep writing these things for me? But she was so good at it.
That's how I felt when I was told I'm presenting the Ready Wit Award. It definitely took a lot of practice to do. All right, another question that we have is, how much do you want your audience to identify with BoJack? And what are the pitfalls of relating to a character like that?
How much? I don't know, 7, 8 gallons of relatability. Maybe, on some days, maybe closer to 4 or 5 gallons. On other days, maybe like 11 or 12 gallons. I don't know. I mean, I think that's up to the individual audience. Like, I don't have a prerequisite amount of sympathy or empathy that I want you to have for the character. I just try to be truthful to who the character is, and I assume different people are going to relate to him on different levels at different times. What was the other part of the question? I got distracted by the numerology.
Yeah, just how much should a person be relating to BoJack, considering that he's an asshole.
Yeah, but I think it's okay to relate to problematic characters. I mean, you're not fully, I don't think relating to him means you see him as a role model. And that's something that we actually were very careful on the show and very intentional about, is that, early on, I knew we were playing with a character type that oftentimes has been presented as very cool. And I said, I really want to make sure through our show that we are not painting this character as cool with his problematicness, that there are things that we will sympathize with and like about him, but he's not an aspirational figure by any means. And so I think maybe in some ways he is, and some people see his struggle as something worth emulating, or the desire to be better. And I think that is okay. But I'm not prescriptivist about it. Like, I don't know what you should or shouldn't take from the show, or should or shouldn't relate. That's up to you.
Well, on the topic of what you should or shouldn't relate to the show, some students were really interested in the philosophy of BoJack and the show itself. So one of the questions someone submitted was, are there any particular philosophers that you admire or ascribe to, and how have they impacted the creation of the show?
No. I don't. I could not name check a philosopher. I mean, let's see. I took a philosophy of the arts class in college. I'm trying to remember the names of any of the philosophers that we studied in that class. I remember Stanley Cavell, but that's only because his son was a friend of mine. I think Hume and Hutchinson, although I don't remember what they said. I don't know. I'm sorry. I couldn't speak to specific philosophers, but I'm curious if any students of philosophy could tell me which philosophers we are ripping off in our show. I think that'd be very helpful.
There you go. We'll leave your email in the description box so that they can
send you
some
please
information.
send me some essays.
So another question that we had was, when first coming up with the idea for BoJack, you envisioned it having a Great Gatsby-ish center. And in fact, in one episode, there's even a movie poster for the Great Gatsby. If F. Scott Fitzgerald were an animal, what would he be?
If F. Scott Fitzgerald were an animal, what would he be? Well, I guess the Great Gatsby is already taken. Maybe the last raccoon. Let's leave it with that. That's good enough.
I love it. Perfect answer. The last raccoon.
Right, that's him. The last tycoon. I got the right guy, right? Maybe. Who knows? Let's say yes.
All right. And our last question for this Q&A. When creating BoJack,
his wife would be a zebra. That much we know. Zebra Fitzgerald.
another spin-off show idea.
Sure.
Zebra Fitzgerald. All right, so our last question of the evening is, when creating BoJack, you had wanted to have a character that felt simultaneously on top of the world and so isolated and alone. Now is a time in particular when many people are feeling exactly that, isolated and alone. What advice do you have for your audience in terms of combating and coping with those emotions and channeling them into something more productive or creative?
Oh, that's a tough one. I don't know. I mean, everyone's struggle is so individual and independent. I mean, I would say you're not alone, even though it feels that way. And I would say exactly what you said, channel it into something creative, write, do art, make things out of Legos, like find ways to express yourself. And in that expression, you will feel less alone. That is my advice.
Thank you so much for that amazing advice, Raphael. Now, Emerson students love the show so much, so we'd like to put your knowledge to the test with a game show we're calling Hollywood's Raphael Bob-Waksberg. What does he know? Does he know things? Let's find out.
Oh no, let's find out.
All right, so the first question should be an easy one. How many seasons did Horseman Around run for? A.
Yeah.
Is it A, 7, B, 9, or C, 13?
I believe 9. That's
and
my
the
guess.
correct answer was B, 9.
All right.
You're
Thank
one
you.
for
Oh,
one.
good. So far, so good.
So far, so great. All right, the second question is Princess Caroline's hold tone is A,
Jellicle
What's New
Cats.
Pussycat by Tom Jones, B, Jellicle Cats by Andrew Lloyd Webber, or C, the Meow Mix jingle by Purina?
Okay, let me tell you 2 things. So first of all, the answer is B, Jellicle Cats. And that, I think, is the most expensive joke we ever had on the show. And it was for episode 2 of the whole show. And the rights to that song were so expensive. And the producers are like, are we sure we wanted, because we play it multiple times in the episode. And every needle drop, you have to pay for it again. And what we ended up doing is we actually didn't use the original cast recording. We re-recorded a cover of it ourselves. So all we had to pay for were the music rights, not the recorded rights. The other fact is that later on in the show, for another joke, we wanted to use the Meow Mix jingle, and we couldn't get the rights. Our music supervisor tried to track down Purina, and they wouldn't respond to any of our emails. And I was so upset because I thought it would be really great. And I kept saying, they did it in Austin Powers. Austin Powers had the Meow Mix song. It's up for grabs. We can get it. But nobody would respond to us, so we never were able to get it. But the answer is B, Jellicle Cats.
That is correct. And what an interesting story to go along with it. I guess next time you got to have the Mike Myers money.
Yeah. $1 million.
So question number 3 is, what was the name Diane went by at Starbucks back when she was a cashier? Is it A, Blarn, B, Saturdaria, or C, do I really need to have a name tag? Isn't this just a pathetic facade of corporate employees displaying some twisted form of personal autonomy? Are you actually writing this down? That's not going to fit on a name tag.
Oh, that's a good one. I wish we thought of that, but the answer is A, Blarn.
That is correct. We are 3 for 3 right now.
I'm nailing it.
The fourth question is, what name doesn't Daniel Radcliffe call BoJack in the game show? Is it A, BJ Novak, B, Jock Jam Door Slam, or C, JoJo Juice Can?
JoJo Juice Can is a good one. We did not use that one.
That is correct, JoJo Juice Can. Daniel Radcliffe did not call BoJack JoJo Juice Can. Question number 5. What does it say on Nixon's business cards in season 2, episode 9? Is it A, not a crook, B, the president of the goddamn United States, or C, would have made a good pope?
Answer is B, president of the goddamn United States. And we had another line in that episode that also used, or I think it was I'm Jay goddamn D goddamn Salinger in the previous episode. And I was like, we got a lot of goddams this season. We got to come up with some other ways to modify things.
It was a goddamn good season, that's for sure. Question number 6. What's the name of a product Princess Carolyn wants BoJack to endorse? Is it A, Guten Bourbon, the urban German bourbon, B, Great Scotch, the nifty whiskey from Helsinki, or C, Whisker Whiskey, the cat in the hat in Manhattan?
Those are great. The answer is A, Guten Bourbon, the urban German bourbon.
That is correct. And
we had a writer on the show at the time, Mehar, who was really upset because you couldn't call things bourbon that were not from whatever region of Bourbony, I guess. So we wrote a line into the show to address that. She's like, all right, calm down, Mehar. We'll account for that.
That's very specific. I love that. So our last question is going to be, who is Emerson College's Comedic Arts total favorite showrunner / creator? Is it A, Raphael Bob-Waksberg, B, Bob-Waksberg, Raphael Bob-Waksberg, or C, the great and powerful RBW?
I'm going to guess it is all of the above.
That is correct. It was all of the above. You are 7 for 7 and you won bragging rights and an award.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that's our show. Before we all log off, the Center for Comedic Arts would like to acknowledge the many, many people who made this award show possible. Thank you to the Emerson College administration, including Lee Pelton, Michaela Whalen, Rob Sabal, Isaac Thweet, Adam Greenfield, and Tom Kingdon. Our production team, Jane Pecor, Eric Fox, Eric Matthews, and Tim MacArthur. The Comedic Arts graduate assistant, Anna Curell. The student writers, Hannah Mittermeier, Rob McPherson, Lilith Pilkerton, and Amelie Atwater, as well as Aaron Schwall in the 2020 comics production class. And of course, our inaugural Ready Wit winner, Raphael Bob-Waksberg. We hope to see you again at next year's Ready Wit Awards ceremony. Good night, everyone.